Hi guys. So I want to talk about the second assignment. And first I want to start off by showing you some more tool use. If you notice on our cutting mat, everything is gridded out. So we can use the mat itself to do all of our measurements. Now for this assignment, you are to cut out multiples of shapes. And I've written in the assignment instructions that you can actually make this into a collage project because I'm not sure if we will have all of the colored paper that we need. So I'm going to be using black and white, and I believe I have actually a piece of cardboard somewhere, but I'll use the mat as an example. So using this grid on the cutting mat, I can line up things with the edges. I can line up my paper with the edges, and then I can use my X-Acto knife to make something like a perfect square. So I line up all the edges and all the points, and I was cutting the ruler itself there. So I've got this one side, and then of course I turn it to the next side. And double and triple check that you've got all of your alignments correct, because one of the things I'm looking for on this assignment is really good technique, because this is the first assignment where we're really working with shapes. So I've cut out a square, and then I could make multiples of the same square using the same technique. Because on this assignment, for each color of paper and shape that you choose for that color of paper, you need to cut out multiples of the shapes in the same sizes. And we'll vary the size of the shapes on the next assignment, but I want to keep everything super basic for right now while we're learning the tools. Got my fingers away from the edge. You guys know that. So I've got multiples of the shapes, and you're to cut out 12 of each color of shapes you're going to do. Now, the super coolest tool that we have is the circle cutter. So you take this off and you unscrew it here, and then you can get different diameter of circles out of it. And you screw this back in to lock it into place. I want you to look at the blade, and depending upon your handedness, you want this blade to be pointed away from you, because of the way that we're going to use this tool. Now, if you want to try and figure out a different way to use this where you've got the blade pointed towards you, that's fine as well. So you just want to be aware of the direction of the blade so you can do this properly. And I will say that this takes some practice, and when I'm doing multiples, I don't even get it right all the time. So you put the point down and put the blade in, and then pull the page around. And I'm also kind of tilting the blade forward a little bit. That tends to help with the cut. I've got the little one here. See? Difficult even if you practice. Look, I've got that edge that's sticking up right there. So what I want you guys to do is keep going until you get it right, because we want all of them to be uniform and correct. So just figure out your own technique and what's going to work for you. We've got a lot better one out of the black here. It's pretty much unavoidable having this circle, this point in the middle. This does come with a little round thing. Let's see, this right here, that is meant to take the point, so you could put it down and then put the point over it so it doesn't leave that hole. But for me, that leaves a strange angle that you've got to put on the blade. So this is another thing that you could experiment with and see if it works out for you, especially if these little holes in the middle really annoy you. Okay, so in the instructions, you are to choose what your background color of sheet is going to be. Let's just say for this, I've got this green background and I've cut out multiples of squares in black and multiples of circles in white, for example. Now, once you've got all of those, your job is to arrange them. And you're trying to use the Gestalt theories that I talked about on the lecture. And what I really want you to focus in on is the flipping of positive and negative space. And everything else will kind of fall into place if you're doing that. So ideas like similarity and anomaly, that'll all sort of start to fall into place. And what you're going to do then is, in some areas, for examples, the square would be on top of the circle. And in other areas, maybe the circle is on top of the square. This helps start to confuse the space. What's on top and what's on the bottom. This will start to open up all of the negative space and turn it into positive space and vice versa. And I'll start composing from there. And I want you to be aware of things that are happening. So I'm thinking about things like, where does this point hit in comparison to this point? Maybe if this point hits here, it makes this shape on the white. And maybe somewhere else I want to echo that same shape. So maybe I'll move this one again. And now I've got that same shape happening again up here. And then flipping back, maybe I'll put a circle here cutting into the black space. And I start to build my whole composition going with that idea. Now, I'm not expecting you guys to have these brilliant compositions yet. In the next lecture, we'll talk about theories of composition. So for right now, I'm looking for flipping of positive negative space, and I'm looking for really good technique and tool use. So here are some examples of what I'm talking about. So you see here, sometimes the circles are on top, sometimes the triangles are on top. This one is a little bit of a creative take on the assignment because they've done circles and quarter circles. So I'm up for you guys doing that if you want. There's that one. This one, perhaps a little bit more jumbled looking, but doing the same thing, confusing that positive and negative space. And confusing that positive and negative space opens up some pictorial depth of what we're seeing and also creates movement. So here's another one like that. And so I'll post a few examples up on the assignment description in Canvas. Something else I want you to do, once you've cut out all of these shapes that you're doing and you get remnants like this, I want you to start to save all of those remnants and interesting shapes that were perhaps unintentional, because we'll use these shapes to build designs for the next assignments. Any questions, post them in the discussion area for this assignment. Take care.